Good evening to all of you. Myself, Lakshmi Prasanna, working as Assistant Professor in Department of Soil Science and Agriculture Chemistry, School of Agriculture, SR University, Warangal, Telangana. As part of our soil science course, today I'm going to deal about the soil taxonomy. In soil taxonomy, I'm going to discuss about the different types of soils in India. So before going into the in view of soil science of India, I want to give a brief introduction about the soils of India. First of all, soil is the uppermost part on the surface of the Earth's crust, which provide nutrients for the plant growth and provide water for the root growth. It is a dynamic natural body which is present on the. It is a dynamic natural body which is produced by the withering of rocks and the decomposition of the organic matter. India is a India is a dominant and has a various geographical and climatic diversity, having various types of soils in it. From the snow-capped Himalayas in the north to the coastal plains in the south, and from the arid regions in the west to the humid deltas in the east, each region presents a unique environmental characteristics that has shaped the distinct characteristics. These soils are not merely inert substrates, but they are dynamic living substances forming the very foundation for the national agriculture economy, supporting its vast biodiversity and plays an important role in maintaining the ecological balance. The health and productivity of Indian soils are paramount to the subsistence of the enormous population. They are the primary medium for the food production, influencing the crop yields, water retention, and also the nutrient cycling. Understanding the diverse nature of soils is very important in order to maintain the sustainable land management, agriculture planning, addressing the environmental challenges such as soil degradation, soil erosion, nutrient depletion, and also the environmental quality. The rich pedological landscape includes major 6 groups of soils like fertile soils of alluvial soils of the Indo-Gangetic Plain. The expansive black cotton soils belongs to the order vertisols, which are most renowned for the cultivation of cotton. Widespread red and yellow soils and the unique laterite soils with which it has its own strengths and vulnerabilities. Developing the intricacies of these varied soil systems is a key for the unlocking of Indians' full agricultural potential and ensuring the long-term ecological well-being. So let's see the overview of soils of India in this PPT, which includes introduction of different types of soils, types of soil types and its characteristics, and also the chemical characteristics of the soil, distribution of soils across the various India. First, let's see the physiography of the India. So India is situated between the north latitude, that is 36 degrees, and the longitude of 97 degrees 25 east. It has a geographical area of 329 million hectares. It is broadly divided into 3 regions, that is peninsular India. That is here you can see the peninsular India, which is in triangular shape, which comprises of the Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, and some part of Andhra Pradesh and the Karnataka. Next is the extra peninsular region where there is mountain regions of the Himalayas. So it includes the Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Assam. Next is the Indo-Gangetic Plains, which includes this. So in the Indo-Gangetic Plain, it includes Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Bihar. So these are the 3 regions which are present in the physiography of the India. The first soil map of India was developed by Czechoslovakia in the year 1932. Later, the soils classification, that is the soils of India, that is soils are divided into 24 groups by the scientists Govindarajan and Rai Chowdhury. Characteristics of Indian soils. Most of the soils are the old and mature. Soils of the peninsular plateau are much older when compared to the soils of the greater northern plain. These soils are deficient. I mean, Indian soils are most deficient in the nutrients like nitrogen, humus, and other organic materials. Plains and valleys have thick layers of soil, while the hilly areas are the hilly and the plateau areas. The soils which are present in the hilly and the plateau areas are very thin. They have the thin soil cover. Sometimes the alluvial soils like alluvial and black soils are very fertile in nature when it is compared to the laterite and desert soils, which are lacking as they lack the soil fertility due to the absence of certain nutrients, and they have the less yield when compared to the alluvial soils and the black soils. Indian soils have been used for the cultivation from several hundreds of years ago, even though they have and year by year as there is more usage of these chemical fertilizers, the fertility of land is been declining from the past decade. Some of the problems in the Indian soils include soil erosion. Soil erosion is mostly seen in the Himalayan region, Chambal ravines, deficiency in fertility, deficiency of the nutrients where there is mostly seen in the red soils, laterite soils, desertification, that is the land degradation, which is mostly seen in the arid and the semi-arid regions, which includes the Thar Desert or in some parts of Karnataka and the Telangana. Waterlogged condition, which is mostly seen in the Punjab and Haryana plain. Saline and alkalinity conditions, where there is more amount of irrigation, which is seen in the regions of the Punjab, Haryana, and Karnataka. Wasteland or the over-exploitation of land takes place due to the increase in population and also rise in the agriculture standards and the living standards of the people due to the urban and due to the as the people are more moving into the urban development and the transport development. Types of soils in India. So as the India has the varied relief features, climatic conditions, vegetations, the India has contributed various types of soils in India, which includes alluvial soils, red soils, black soils, which are also known as the rigor soils, desert soils, laterite soils, forest and hill soils, also known as the mountain soils, peat and the marshy soils, and the terrain soils. So let's see one by one its characteristics and what types of crops are grown, each one by one in the further slides. So first is the alluvial soils. So here you can see the maps which are depicting the various types of soils, that is like red soils. So this is the map which depicts the different types of soils in India. That is the forest and mountain soils, alluvial soils, red soils, black soils which are present in the peninsular plateau or in the Deccan Plateau region, laterite soils, and the arid and the semi-arid soils which are seen in the part of the Rajasthan. So first is the alluvial soils. In India, alluvial soils occur in the mostly in the Indo-Gangetic plains, that is the near the Brahmaputra valleys and of the plains of the Narmada and Tapati, or in the eastern and western coastal plains. So these alluvial soils are mostly present in the Indo-Gangetic plateaus and Brahmaputra plains. So these soils are mainly derived from the debris of the Himalayas and the silt which are left from the retreating sea. These are the largest soil groups in India, which covers about the 46% of the total area and which supports 40% of the Indian population. It occupies 113 million hectares in the Indo-Gangetic plains, Brahmaputra Valley, and in the coastal areas. And here the important point is that alluvial soils are the most dominant soils present in India, which occupies 113 million hectares in the Indo-Gangetic plain, Brahmaputra Valley, and in the coastal area. So these points are important as per the JRF point of view. When we see the characteristics of alluvial soils, these soils are derived from the parent material, that is the alluvium, which is of the recent origin. The alluvial soils vary from the color light gray to the ashy gray color, and the texture of these soils is the sandy to silty loam in texture. These soils are both well-drained and also poorly drained soils. Generally, these soils have the immature profile in the undulating areas, while in the leveled areas, they have the well-developed profile having the mature soil profile horizons. These soils comes under the soil orders, that is the inceptisols, entisols, olphisols, aridisols as per the soil taxonomy. When we see the chemical properties of alluvial soils, these soils have the low amount of nitrogen, organic carbon, and these soils are rich in the potassium and the phosphorus. So here the important point is that here the parent material of the alluvial soils is alluvium, which is of the recent origin. These soils are low in the nitrogen, organic carbon, whereas these soils are rich in the potassium and the phosphorus. These soils comes under the soil order, that is inceptisols, entisols, olphisols as per the soil taxonomy. Types of alluvial soils in India. So there are two types of alluvial soils, that is the Khadar soil and the Bhangar soil. Khadar soil is also known as a new alluvium, whereas the Bhangar soil is known as the old alluvium. So Khadar soil, so here you can see this picture depicts the formation of the two types of alluvial soils, that is the Khadar and Bhangar. Khadar is the new alluvial soil, whereas the Bhangar is the old alluvial soil. Khadar generally found in the low-lying areas which are frequently inundated by the floods which are seen in the rainy season. It occupies near the flood plains and the rivers which are enriched by the fresh silty deposits as every year. These soils, Khadar soils are generally fertile. These soils are renewed every year and these are most suitable for the irrigation. Generally, this Khadar soil is coarse in texture where there is less development of conker nodules, which are also known as the formation of the calcium carbonate. These soils, locally known as the Reh Kellar, are two soils. When we see the Bhangar soils, this is the Bhangar soil. So Bhangar soils are also known as the old alluvial soils. So these soils are generally present above the flood level. These soils are well drained and has the more concentration of the conchers, that is the impure calcium carbonate accumulation. These are known as old silt deposits. When we see the soil texture, it is loomy soil to the clay loam in texture. These soils are less fertile and they are not renewed every year. They are less suitable for the irrigation or for the agriculture. These are fine texture and having the high development of conker nodules or the calcium carbonate in it. So when we see the difference between the Khadar soil and the Bhangar soil, so these soils are developed near the flood plains. So here you can see the Khadar soils which are developed near the flood plains, whereas the Bhangar soil which is away from the flood plain. As these soils are present near the flood plains, there is newly development of silt deposits. As these soils are present near to the floods, the inundation of water moves from the floods. That is why there is the formation of the fresh silt deposits every year. Every year the soils are renewed. That is why there is a formation of new silt deposits. New materials are formed because of the inundation of the floods in this Khadar. That is why these soils are known as the new alluvium. These are known as the fertile soils. These are renewed every year because of the inundation water from the flood regions. These soils are more suitable for the irrigation as these soils are more fertile in nature. They are in coarse structure and there is less development of the conker nodules of the calcium carbonate. As there is more movement of water here, that is why there is a less development of calcium carbonate. But here in the Bhangar soil or in the old alluvium, these soils are present above the flood level and these are well-drained soils having the concretion of the calcium carbonate. I mean the presence of the calcium carbonate accumulation is more because it is present away from the flood regions. These soils are less fertile in nature and these are renewed, they are not renewed every year and they are less suitable for the irrigation as the fertility level is less. So here the important point is that Khadar soil is known as the new alluvium, whereas the Bhangar soil is known as the old alluvium. Fresh silt deposits are formed in the Khadar soil, whereas the old silt deposits are formed near the Bhangar soil as it is present above the flood level. In these alluvial soils, the crops which are grown is that wheat, rice, maize, sugarcane, pulses, oil seeds, basil, and other vegetables are more suitable in growing this in the growth of these crops in these particular alluvial soils. These soils are known as the best agriculture soils as these soils are most dominant in the India. So it is because of the wide variety of salts which are derived from these soils have the wide variety of salts which are derived from the Himalayan rock. These soils are light and porous in texture and they are easily and they undergo easily plowing and tillage practices can be done easily as the soils are light and porous in nature. These soils have the high water table and easily penetration of easily penetrable stratum. These have the high amount of water table and easily penetrable stratum, and these soils are useful for the canal irrigation. These soils go very deep. These soils are not suitable for the crops requiring water retention around the roots. These soils are rich in potash but poor in nitrogen and organic matter. Next is the red and the alluvial soils. So red and alluvial soils is the type of soils which are present in India. So when we see the distribution of these red and alluvial soils, so here you can see the red appearance and also the yellow appearance, where there is formation of the red soils and also the yellow soils. So red soils are mostly present in the peninsula of Tamil Nadu region. So here you can see the red soils which are most dominant in the Tamil Nadu region and south of the Bundelkhand and and in the north Rajmahal hills which are present in the east to the Kayatwad and Ran of Kutch in the west region. Ran of Kutch in the west region and in peninsular region of Tamil Nadu, Bundelkhand in the north and Rajmahal hill in the east. So this is the distribution of the red soils and also the yellow soils. So yellow soils are the most dominant. Yellow soils are the most dominant in the Ran of the Kutch region. These soils are present in the some parts of Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Orissa, and in scattered patches of the Bundelkhand, Mirzapur, Banswara, Bhilwara, Udaipur, and some parts of the Rajasthan. When we see the characteristics of the red and yellow soils, these soils cover 85.7 million hectares of the total geographical area of India. These soils are shallow to very deep, and also these are well-drained soils. These soils are found in the semi-arid to the warm, humid tropical climates. These soils are generally red in color due to the presence of the ferric oxides, and these soils appear yellow in color due to the presence of the mineral that is known as the limonite. So red color is due to the presence of the mineral ferrous oxides, whereas the yellow color of soils is due to the presence of the mineral limonite. Generally, the top layer of soil is red, while the horizon below it is yellowish in color. When these soils are hydrated, this soil seems to be in the yellow color. The texture of these soils vary from sandy clay to the clay loam in soils. The other characteristics include pore and friable structure, absence of lime and concur and calcium carbonate, and there is a small quantity of soluble salts present in them. These soils are generally found in the low rainfall areas, and also it is having the presence of 1:1 type of clay mineral that is known as the keolnite. These soils are developed from the granite and metamorphic rocks like gneiss schist of the Archean period. So these soils are found in the semi-arid to the warm, humid tropical climates. Generally, these soils are red due to the presence of the mineral ferric oxides and yellow due to the presence of the mineral limonite. Generally, the top layer of soil is red, while the below horizon is yellowish in color. These soils includes porous and friable structure, having the absence of lime or the concur nodules or the formation of the calcium carbonate, and it has a small amount of soluble salts present in them. These soils are present in the low rainfall areas and has the 1:1 type of clay mineral that is the keolnite, which is the dominant mineral present in them. These soils are developed from the rocks, that is the granite and metamorphic rocks like gneiss and schists of the Archean period. When we see the chemical properties of the red and yellow soils, these soils are deficient in nitrogen, phosphorus, organic matter, lime, which and it responds well to the potassium management. Intense leaching takes place, which threatens the less availability of plant nutrients. These soils are slightly acidic to the slightly alkaline in nature, having the low CEC. Base saturation is very less when compared to the black soils and alluvial soils, but they are higher than the laterite soils. The base saturation is higher when compared to the laterite soils. The important crops like wheat, cotton, pulses, tobacco, millets, oilseeds, potato, and orchards are grown in these particular red soils and yellow soils. Intense leaching takes place. As there is intense leaching, that is why the base saturation is very less and low CEC. These soils are slightly acidic to slightly alkaline in nature. They have the base saturation is very low when compared to the black soils and alluvial soils, but it has higher base saturation when compared to the laterite soils. So these red and yellow soils have the high base saturation in the when compared to the laterite soils, but very low when compared to the black and the alluvial soils. So let's see the another soil, that is the black soil. So black soils are also known as the rigar soils or black cotton soils. It is because in the black soils, cotton is a major crop which is grown. That is why black soils are known as the black cotton soils. So these soils are generally formed from the parent material that is known as the basalt rock. So basalt rock is the parent material. That is why there is formation of the basic parent material that is known as the basalt rock. Generally, these soils are present or it occurs at a regions of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Western Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand. These soils are mature soils. These soils, they have the annual rainfall between the 50 to 75 centimeters. These soils vary from deep black to the light black soils. The characteristics of black soils. So black soils are known as the black cotton soils. So they occupy 55 million hectares in India. These soils are developed from the alluvium of the basalt rock. So the parent material which is present here is the basalt rock or the basic parent material. These soils are generally present in the arid, semi-arid and subhumid climates. These soils are locally called with different names like rigar soils, which are present in the central India. Karai soils, black soils are known as the Karai soils in the UP. These are known as the Bal soils in the Gujarat. Black color of these soils have the black color. It is due to the presence of the clay mineral or clay humus complex and also the titaniferous magnetite mineral. So titaniferous magnetite mineral and also the clay humus complex. That is why this soil seems to be in a black color. Moreover, these soils have the high water retention capacity. These soils are compact and tenacious when wet, and it develops deep wide cracks when the soils are dry in nature. These soils have the high amount of clay, greater than 30% of clay, and high CEC, that is cation exchange capacities, 35 to 55 centimole per kg. And these are the more base-rich soils. And the pH of these soils varies from 7.5 to 9.5. And the clay minerals which are dominant is the smectite, that is 2:1 type of clay minerals, which includes smectite, vermiculite, and the montmorillonite. Here the important point is that these soils are developed from the basic parent material that is known as the basalt rock. These soils are present in the arid and the semi-arid conditions and the subhumid climates. These soils are locally called as, in central India, these are called as the rigar soils. In the UP, these soils are called as the Karai soils. In Gujarat, these soils are known as the Bal soils. So black color of these soils is due to the presence of the clay humus complex and titaniferous magnetite mineral. High water retention capacity, it is due to the presence of the more clay present in them. So the amount of clay is greater than 30%, having the high CEC, that is 35 to 55 centimole per kg, and has the high base saturation. The pH of these soils varies from 7.5 to 9.5, and the 2:1 type of mineral is the smectite, vermiculite, and the montmorillonite. These soils is wet. Ploughing these soils is difficult. It is because more amount of, as the clay content is more, there is more accumulation of water present in them. That is why the soil seems to be sticky in nature. In the dry season, as the moisture evaporates from the soil seems to shrink. So swelling occurs in the rainy season, whereas shrinkage takes place in the summer season when the moisture in the soil is evaporated. Thereby, there is development of deep wide cracks that is 10 to 15 centimeters in depth. In other words, they swell greatly and become sticky when wet in the rainy season. These soils have the natural phenomena. These are known as the self-ploughing effect. These soils have the unique character that is the self-ploughing effect. It is because of the slow absorption and gradual loss of due to the slow absorption of water and gradual loss of the loss of moisture is very slow. Black soils retain more amount of moisture for longer period, so that it can tenure, it can retain the moisture even in the dry periods. That is why these soils seems to have the self-ploughing effect. It is because of the slow absorption of water. As these soils have the high amount of clay content, that is more than 30% of clay. In clay, the micropores, the content of the micropores is more. That is why the water enters into the clay soil very slowly, and the loss of moisture is also very slow. As the loss of moisture is very slow in this particular black soil, that is why the water retention is more in this particular type of soil. That is why these soils can endure even in the dry periods with having certain moisture present in them. Black colored soils are compared with the Chernozones of Russia and prairie soils of USA. When we see the chemical properties of black soils, these soils are rich in iron, lime, calcium, potassium, aluminium, and these soils are deficient in nitrogen, phosphorus, and organic matter. The important crops like cotton, pulses, linseed, millets, castor, tobacco, sugarcane, vegetables, and citrus fruits are grown in these particular areas, of the black soils. So here the important point is that these soils have a unique character, that is the self-ploughing effect. Self-ploughing effect is the soils, the water retention, as the water retention is more, there is slow absorption of water, and the loss of moisture is also very slow. It is due to this, the water retention capacity, it can retain the water retention capacity even during the dry periods, having the characteristic that is a self-ploughing effect. Swelling and shrinkage of clay, which is mostly seen in the black soils, swelling which takes place in the rainy season, and this soil seems to be sticky in nature and it is difficult for the ploughing. Shrinkage takes place in the dry period. When the moisture is evaporated, the soil seems to be dry. Thereby, shrinking of soils takes place. Next is these soils are black soils are compared with the other countries like in the Russia, the black soils are compared with the Chernozones, and in the USA, the black soils are compared with the prairie soils of USA. The major crops which are grown in the black soils is the cotton, pulses, millets, castor, tobacco, sugarcane, vegetables. So when we see the distribution of black soils in India, these are mostly seen in the Deccan Plateau region. So this is the Deccan Plateau region where the black soils are most dominant in these particular areas. So it includes some parts of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, and Jharkhand. So there is formation of deep wide cracks during the dry season because of the shrinkage of clay in the surface layers of the vertisols. These black soils comes under the soil that is the vertisols. This is also the important point here. I forgot to mention. So deep wide cracks are formed during the dry season in the surface layers of the vertisols. So as it has a self-ploughing effect, surface debris can slough off into the deep cracks and move into the subsoil. When the rains come, these water can move quickly into the lower horizons and thereby the cracks are soon healed. That is the micropores or the macropores are sealed, making the soil impervious to water level. That is, there is a poor drainage condition as the water becomes sealed both in the micropores and the macropores. So in the black soils, as there is a sealing of these pores in the rainy season, that is why drainage condition is a major problem, which is the mostly seen in the black soils. So another character is the Gilgai microrelief. Gilgai microrelief is one of the unique feature which is seen in the black soils. So in soil science, the microrelief is nothing but it is the unevenness on the ground surface which are mostly seen in the black soils known as the vertisols. So the Gilgai microrelief is formed by the formation of the mounds and the depressions. This is the formation of the mounds and the depressions. Generally, this Gilgai microrelief is seen in the uneven areas, uneven surface or uneven ground surface area. It is the formation of mounds. It is the slightly raised area, which is typically few meters in a diameter. Whereas the depressions are nothing but the small and sunken areas or hollows which are present between the mounds which hold the water seasonally. Slick and slides is also one of the unique feature which is seen in the black soils. Slick and slides is mostly seen in the black soils, particularly in the vertisols. Slick and slides is nothing but the smooth and the polished surface that develops on the faces of the soil aggregates or the clay or the plots. So here you can see the diagram. So these are the smooth or the polished surfaces which are seen on the soil aggregates or the soil beds. So as the soil particles, as the soil colloids or the clay particles, they slide one over the other. When they, due to the pressure or the friction between the two soil colloids, they slide one over the other. When they slide one over the other due to the more amount of friction, there is a formation of this smooth and the polished surface seems to be shining in nature. This is known as the slick and slides. So slick and slides appears to be smooth, shiny and glossy surface. It has the striations. So the striations are the grooves which indicate the direction of the soil movement. So when we see the location of these slick and slides, these are typically found within the subsoil where the swell and shrink activity is most pronounced. So slick and slides are mostly formed by the swelling and shrinkage of the clay. It is because of the high clay content, that is black soils have the high amount of clay content, that is greater than 30% of clay, having the smectite type of clay mineral. These soils have the unique character of the expanding type of clay mineral, that is swelling and shrinkage. Swelling and shrinkage action is present in this particular type of this smectite and vermiculite type of clay minerals. Shearing and polishing. So due to the repeated swelling and shrinkage between the two soil beds, it creates pressure between the soil, causing the soil aggregates which slide over each other. This sliding movement over each other results in the rubbing and polishing of the surfaces. So this movement results in the rubbing and polishing of the aggregate surfaces, forming the slick and slides. So the rubbing and the friction created between the two surface of the soil collides, thereby leading to the formation of the slick and slides. So when we see the characteristics, so black soils have the more amount of characteristics and the unique characteristics are seen in the black cotton soils. It is by the, so these soils are mainly found from the parent material, that is the basic parent material, that is known as the basalt rock. These soils are black color due to the clay humus complex and also due to the presence of the titaniferous magnetite mineral. And next is the high water retention capacity. Next is the high amount of clay, high CEC and more amount of base-rich soils. These soils have the clay 2:1 type of clay minerals, that is smectite, vermiculite, and montmorillite. So these are the expanding type of minerals. Swelling and shrinkage is one of the property which is present in the clay minerals. These soils are also known as self-ploughing soils as there is slow absorption of water and loss of water is also very slow in nature. Thereby the water retains over a long period of time even in the dry periods. These soils are called as the Chernozomes of Russia and prairie soils of USA. These soils have the unique characteristics of formation of Gilgai microrelief. Gilgai microrelief is generally formed on the unevenness of the ground surface. That is, it is generally formed in the undulating or in the uneven surface of the areas by the formation of the mounds, and the depressions. Next is the slick and slides. Slick and slides is formed, these are the smooth polished surfaces which are mainly formed by the rubbing and polishing of soil aggregates. When there is rubbing and polishing and friction when it is created between the soil aggregates, thereby there is a smooth and glossy surface is formed on the subsurface of soil, thereby the formation of the slick and slides. So these lichen sites are formed in the subsurface horizon where the activity of the swelling and shrinkage activity of soil is higher. Next is the laterite and lateritic soils. So here, this is the soil profile where there is formation of the lateritic soils or laterite soils. So laterite soils or the lateritic soils are nothing but the formation of the brick colored soils and the red soils. So here you can see these are the iron-rich soils where there is formation of the laterites. So in these soils, there is more amount of iron oxides present in them. That is why the soil seems to be in a red color. So when we see the characteristics of, when we see the difference between the laterite soils and the lateritic soils, so generally the lateritic soils are the highly withered soils which are present in the tropical and subtropical regions, which are formed by the laterization of the rock. The color of the lateritic soils generally vary from the reddish brown to the rusty red in color. The particle size of the lateritic soils varies from the clay silt to the sand or gravel in nature. As a result of the laterization process, these soils are mainly coated with the sesqui oxides concentration, giving cementitious characteristics. Laterite soils are it is a type of the clay mineral which is very hard and when that is hard when dry and accumulates the topsoil in the tropical and subtropical regions. Like lateritic soils, laterite is recognized by the red, brown, and purple tones. There are three types of laterites: wormhole laterites, pellet laterite, Duffy laterite. So wormhole laterite is nothing but the concretary formation which is rich in iron. So these wormhole laterites are these are rich in iron and it gets from the name which looks like wormhole in nature. Whereas the pellet laterites are pellet-shaped particles of the material. So this pellet laterite contains the pellet-shaped particles present in them, and these particles are dominated with the presence of the iron oxides in them. Duffy laterites are these particles are soft and duff-like structures which are present in the tropical climates by the heating and drying conditions. So generally, these laterite or laterite soils are formed by the laterization phenomena. So these soils are formed by the laterization process, that is the alkali hydrolysis. So the term laterite is coined by the scientist Buchanan. The laterite is brick red in color as there is more amount of high deposits of ferruginous vesicular deposits of Malabar Hills of Kerala. So as these laterites have the high amount of iron oxides present in them, that is ferruginous material, and these soils are present in the vesicular deposits of Malabar Hills of Kerala. These soils occupy 18 million hectares in southern states, Western Ghats of Maharashtra, Orissa, and northeastern states. These soils have the typical monsoon type of climate which is characterized by the seasonal rainfall. Generally, with rain, when these soils generally formed in the areas where there is more amount of rain. With rain, lime and silica are leached away by leaving the soil-rich iron oxides and aluminium, leading the formation of laterite soils. Laterite soils harden rapidly and irreversibly on exposure to the air, which leads to the building of rocks in the southern India. So these lateritic soils are formed by the laterization process. So laterization is one of the soil forming process where there is more accumulation. The iron here in the topper layers of soil, the iron and silica are removed. The iron and silica, the silica and aluminum and silica are removed from the topper layers of soil, by leaving the iron, aluminium, iron stone which is present, which is left over. There is the removal of the silica compounds, removal of silica to the deeper layers by leaving the iron compounds which are present in them. That is why the soil seems to be in a red color. So the term laterite is coined by the scientist Buchanan. So these soils are in brick red color due to the presence of the ferruginous material, that is the iron oxides, and these vesicular deposits are mostly present in the Malabar hills of the Kerala. These soils typically have the monsoon climate where there is more amount of rainfall. So here the lime and silica are removed. Here in the topper layers of soil, the lime and silica are removed to the below layers. It is leached down to the below layers of soil profile. Only the leftover part is the iron oxides and aluminium. Only the aluminium and iron oxides are present on the topper layers of soil by leaching away the lime and silica. That is why there is formation of this red color substance forming the laterite soil. Laterite soil, when it is exposed to the air, it becomes hardens and it is irreversible on exposure to the air, which leads to the property of a building of rocks. Plinthites, which are mostly seen in this particular laterite soils. Plinthites are nothing but the bricks. Plinthites is also one of the characteristics seen in the laterite and lateritic soils. When we see the chemical properties of lateritic soils, these soils are red in color due to the presence of the iron oxide mineral. So almost all the nutrients are deficient, but it can be managed well. Liming is very much essential for the better of this crop. It is because low base saturation takes place because high amount of rainfall. When there is high amount of rainfall, almost all the nutrients will be leached down by leaving the iron oxides present in them. That is why liming is mostly preferred for the betterment of these crops in this particular type of soils. These soils have higher areas and these are generally more acidic in nature than the low-lying areas. So these are generally acidic in nature because of the low base saturation. Because of the low base saturation, all the bases which are present on the top layers of soil will be removed along with the rainwater. Leaching of these cations takes place. When there is leaching of the cations, there is only the H plus aluminium and iron ions are left on the topper layers of soil. That is why the soil seems to be in a more acidic in nature. These soils are rich in iron and aluminium, but they are very poor in nitrogen, potash, lime, and organic matter. These soils are very low fertile in nature, but they respond well when we give the manuring to it. So the dominant mineral which is present is a kaolin clay mineral is the dominant mineral which is present in the laterite soils. The important crops grown in these soils is rice, ragi, sugarcane, and cashew nut crops. When we see the distribution of this laterite or lateritic soils, these soils are generally formed in the plateaus of highlands in the hills of the Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Rajma Hills, Satpura Ranges, Vindhya and Satpura Ranges, Orissa, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Malabar Hills of Kerala, and Garo Hills of Meghalaya. So here you can see the appearance of these types of soils. They are red in color. It is because of the present more amount of the oxides of iron and aluminium. That is why this soil seems to be in a red color. When we see the important points in this laterite and lateritic soils, so these soils are generally formed in the laterization process. So laterization is a type of the soil forming process where the lime and silica are removed from lime and silica are leached below the soil horizons or the soil layers, leaving the oxides of iron and aluminium. That is why there is formation of red color substance, that is the brick red formation. The term laterite is coined by the scientist Buchanan. These soils have the high amount of ferruginous material, and these soils are present in the vesicular deposits of Malabar Hills of Kerala. It has monsoon type of climate with seasonal rainfall. This climate leads to the formation of these soils generally hardens rapidly and irreversibly when it is exposed to the air, and this property helps in the building of bricks, that is known as the plintites in the southern India. So red color of these particular soils is due to the presence of the iron oxide mineral. These soils are generally acidic in nature, more acidic in nature because of the high rainfall conditions and low base saturation. And the dominant mineral present here is the kaolin type of clay mineral. And the crops which are grown here is rice, ragi, sugarcane. Next is the desert soils. So desert soils are those soils which are present in the arid and the semi-arid climates. So here you can see the profile development of the desert soils. We can differentiate from the grassland soils. So desert soils are generally formed in the arid and semi-arid climates where there is less rainfall and more evaporation and transpiration type of climate is present in this desert soils. So there is a weak humus and mineral mixture present in the soil profile. And there is more presence of salts. So as these desert soils occurs in the arid and semi-arid climates where there is less rainfall and high evaporation and transpiration, due to this high evaporation and transpiration, the water which is present under the water table, the salts which are present near the water table will be coming onto the top surface because of the capillary movement. Due to the capillary movement of water, the salts which are present in the water table moves upwards. Water gets evaporated or transpiration takes place, leaving the salts behind. Thereby, there is a formation of more soluble salts and also the formation of calcium carbonate in this particular soil profile, where there is arid climate and semi-arid climates. When we see the grassland soil, the soil profile contains the dark and humus layer where the water retention is very higher. That is why the organic matter accumulation and the humus is very high. That is why there is a good type of vegetation present in the grassland soils. So let's see the desert soil and its characteristics. So desert soils are present in the arid and semi-arid conditions, which are mainly blown by the wind. These soils occupy 26.3 million hectares. These soils are present in the Western Ghats, Gujarat, Haryana, and Punjab. These soils are cold arid soils. Cold arid soils which are present in the Ladakh regions of Jammu and Kashmir. These are the light soils and have the very less profile development because due to the presence of the less mineral matter and the organic matter in this particular profile. Low organic matter and high salts, high soluble salts and high calcareous in nature. There is low amount of nutrients and water retention capacity. Phosphates and nitrates make this soil fertile wherever the moisture is available. There is less possibility of reclamation of these soils if proper irrigation facilities are available. These soils are the crops which are grown in this particular soil is bajra, pulses, gaur, and fodder, as there is less requirement of water. So bajra, pulses, and gaur and fodder crops require less amount of water. That is why these crops are grown over here. When we see the chemical properties of the arid soils, these soils have generally they are poor in the organic matter. These soils are alkaline in nature, having the more degree of soluble salts of calcium carbonate present in them. Calcium content increases downwards and the subsoil has 10 times more amount of calcium in them. The phosphate content in these soils is very high as, as it is normal in the alluvial soils. The nitrogen is very less, but it is available in form of nitrate. When we see the distribution of the arid soils, these arid soils are present in the Rajasthan, Punjab and Haryana region. These soils are formed by the wind by the blown wind from the Indus Basin and the coast by the prevailing and also by the prevailing southwest monsoon winds. The sandy soils without clay factor are also common in the coastal regions of Orissa, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So when we see the important points in these desert soils, these soils occur generally in the arid and the semi-arid climates where there is less rainfall and more evaporation and transpiration. These soils also occur in the cold arid soils of Leh Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir regions. These soils are generally light soils with very less profile development. These soils have low amount of organic matter. These soils have low amount of organic matter and it has high amount of salts as these soils are present in the arid and semi-arid climates and there is more amount of calcium carbonate deposits in them. They have low nutrients and low water retention capacities. The major crops like bajra, pulses, guar and fodder, these crops require very less amount of water. That is why these crops can be grown in these particular soils. So here you can see arid, semi-arid. So this is the arid conditions present in Rajasthan and Gujarat area. Semi-arid region which are present in the here dry subhumid regions. So in this arid, semi-arid and dry humid regions, these arid and semi-arid soils are developed here. Dry subhumid climate accounts 30%, arid regions account 21%, semi-arid regions accounts 49% of the total area. These soils are generally more alkaline in nature due to the presence of the more calcium carbonate more amount of calcium carbonate present in them. The calcium content in these soils is mostly present in the subsoil, which is more when compared to the other alluvial soils. The phosphate content in these soils is very high as it is normal in the alluvial soils. Nitrogen is generally absent, but it is present in form of nitrate. So these soils are generally present in the Rajasthan, Gujarat, Punjab, and cold arid regions of Leh Ladakh region and Jammu and Kashmir. So generally these soils, so there is more occurrence of salts present in them. These salts are blown by the Indus Basin and by the prevailing southwest monsoon winds. So these winds, the salts are carried by the wind through Indus Basin and also from the southwest monsoon winds. Sandy soils without clay factor are common in the coastal regions of the Orissa, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Forest and mountain soils. So these are known as the mountain soils and this is how the soil profile development takes place in the tropical rainforest, that is the humid and tropical climates, deciduous forest soil, and this is the coniferous forest soils. So in all these tropical rainforest soils, deciduous forest soils and coniferous forest soils, so almost in all these soils, the litter formation organic matter content is more in these soils. Litter and organic matter content is more in these particular soils. So these soils occur in the tropical and subtropical, tropical and humid climates. These soils are developed under the forest canopy. The soils of the mountain soils or the forest soils have the cold climates under the coniferous forests of the Himalayas. These soils are more strongly acidic in nature, having high amount of organic carbon and high amount of clay and less than 50% base saturation. Brown forest soils are present under the subhumid and humid climates. These soils are generally neutral to slightly acidic in nature. They are mainly heterogeneous soils which are found in hill slopes which are covered by the forests. The soils formed under this is governed by the characteristics deposition of the organic matter which is derived from the forest, and the character changes with the parent rock, ground configuration and climate. When we see the chemical properties, these forest-rich soils are rich in the humus and also the presence of the organic matter. These soils are generally deficient in potassium, phosphorus and lime. They require good deal of fertilizers for getting good yields. So the crops grown in these particular soils includes the tea plantation crops like tea, coffee, spices, and tropical fruits in the peninsular forest region. Wheat, maize, barley, and other temperate fruits are also grown in these particular soils. When we see the distribution of the mountain soils, so these mountain soils are generally found in the Himalayan regions, which are mainly found in the valleys, steep slopes, north-facing slopes, which are found in the Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Madhya Pradesh, Kerala, and other northeastern regions. The south-facing slopes are very steep and exposed to the inundation, and hence it does not support for the soil formation. Forest soils occur in the western and eastern Ghats also. So when we see the important points in these forest and hill soils, these soils generally develop under forest canopy. So these soils are formed in the cold climate under the coniferous vegetation of the Himalaya. These soils are heterogeneous soils which are found in the hilly slopes which are covered by the forest. These soils have the high amount of organic matter and humus. Organic matter, humus, and litter content is greater in these types of soils, which generally varies with the change in the parent rocks and ground configuration and the climate. These soils are generally rich in the humus and organic matter. They are deficient in potassium, phosphorus, and lime. The crops, plantation crops like coffee, tea, spices are grown in this peninsular forest region, and other crops include wheat, maize, barley, and other temperate fruits. These soils are distributed in the valleys and steep slopes and north-facing slopes, which include Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, and other northeastern regions. The south-facing slopes are very steep, and it is exposed to the denudation. And hence, there is very less soil formation or less soil profile development in case of the steep slopes. In the steep slopes, there is less profile development. Next is the peat or the marshy soils. So peat or the marshy soils are developed in the marshy areas, swampy areas, or the damp areas, or in the waterlogged conditions. These soils contain more amount of peat and organic matter present in them. So here you can see the diagram. So this peat and the marshy soils are developed in the areas, in the marshy areas, swampy areas, or in the waterlogged conditions. So it contains the peat material, that is the partially dissolved organic material, that is known as the peat soil. Organic soils are those soils which contain high amount of organic matter. These soils are generally developed in the humid climate, and it is present in the regions of Kerala, east regions of tidal swamps. Peaty soils generally occur in areas of the heavy rainfall area where the drainage condition is unavailable. These soils are generally submerged during the rainy season, and particularly the rice is grown in these particular soils. There is high amount of organic matter and with the presence of the mineral, that is the pyrites. Generally, these are the submerged soils containing sulfuric acid present in them. The sulfuric acid is formed by the oxidation of the pyrites, which becomes due to the presence of the sulfuric acid, the pH of this particular soil is less than 4, which is extremely acidic in nature. These soils are also known as acid sulfate soils, cad clays, or peat soils or the muck soils. So peat or the muck soils of Kerala is also known as the curry soils. When we see the distribution of these peat soils, so these peat soils are the muck soils which are found in the Kottayam and Alappuzha districts of Kerala, where these peat soils are also known as curry soils. These soils are generally formed in the tidal swamps in West Bengal, that is in the Sundarbans area, coastal areas of Orissa, Tamil Nadu, Goa with mangrove vegetation. When we see the chemical properties, these soils are deficient in potash and phosphate. The crops which are grown here is the rice crop, which is mostly grown in this particular area where the water is where the condition is submerged condition and waterlogged condition. That is why rice is the majorly grown in these particular soils. Most of the peat soils are under the water during the rainy season, but soon when the rain ceases, they are put under the paddy cultivation. So here the cultivation of the rice cultivation is more because of the more presence of water. Here, when we see the important points of this peat or the marshy soils, so peat or the marshy soils, it is mostly present in the submerged areas or in the low submerged areas, lowland areas, or in the swampy areas, deltaic regions of coastal area, which are present, which are developed in the humid climate, which are present in the pockets of the Kerala, eastern regions of the tidal swamps. So generally, these soils occur at a higher rainfall where there is a less drainage condition. So rice is the main crop which is grown over here. So as these soils have the high amount of organic matter, so the organic matter which is formed by the decomposition of materials. So due to the more amount of waterlogged condition, there is more amount of organic matter. Organic matter is developed by the decomposition of the organic material which are present over in the waterlogged conditions. As there is waterlogged conditions, there is less drainage condition, and anaerobic condition is formed. In the anaerobic condition, the sulfate mineral, the minerals, there are various types of mineral present in these waterlogged soils. In that minerals, particularly the sulfate compound, which is the dominant, it undergoes reduction and forms the sulfides, that is the pyrites. So sulfate undergoes reduction by the bacteria Theobacillus ferrooxidans. It undergoes reduction and forms the formation of pyrites, that is a yellow color formation of the mineral, that is known as the pyrites. So this pyrites mineral undergoes oxidation. Pyrites undergoes oxidation with the help of the sulfur oxidizing bacteria, and it converts into the sulfuric acid. So because of the release of this sulfuric acid in this particular soil, the soil seems to be more acidic in nature, having the pH less than 4. These soils, peat or the marshy soils are also known as acid sulfate soils, acid sulfate soils, peat soils, marshy soils, as it occurs in the marshy areas, and these soils in the Kerala represents as curry soils. So here the dominant mineral is the pyrite or jarosite. Jarosite is a type of mineral which is mostly present because of the oxidation of these pyrites, whereas in the reduction of the sulfates, the mineral which is formed is the pyrites. So all these two minerals are the iron sulfur containing minerals. So this due to the presence of these pyrites and the jarosite mineral, the soil seems to be in a yellow color. So that is why the soil of this particular peat or the marshy soil seems to be in yellow color. It is due to the presence of the mineral that is known as the pyrites or the jarosite mineral. And these soils are known as the curry soils of Kerala. So here you can see the development of the peat or the marshy soils. So these soils are generally formed in the mangrove areas, tidal swamps of the West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Orissa, and Goa with the mangrove vegetation. These soils are deficient in potash and the phosphate. These soils are generally formed, the type of crop grown here is the rice crop. And these soils are majorly present in the Kerala regions, that is in the districts of Kottayam and Alfuza, where the water is present over a long period of time. So this is regarding the description, characteristics, and distribution of the types of soils in India. I hope this video is very useful. If you like the video, please do like, comment, and subscribe my video. Thank you.